Wow. That's the first time I've heard it said out loud. Very, very amazing. Well, good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be here. And this new journey that I'm on, the golden path of peace, has been, like many of you know, when you find yourself in a zone that feels like that sweet spot in life, like I used to play baseball, and when the bat hits the ball just in a certain place, it doesn't hurt your hands. They call it the sweet spot. And that ball can just go forever, and it makes such a nice cracking sound. It's like, woo, and off it goes. And I also, in another life, another time in my life, I built a house with hand tools. It was, kind of the prove yourself period, and the work boots and the tool belts and all those things. And there's a sweet spot when the hammer hits the 10-penny nail, and it sings. It literally, Tom's nodding, it sings. And I had a heavier than I should have had hammer, only I didn't know that. And somebody gave me, he was so inspired by the fact that I was going to take on this project of building this house with 22 windows on a hill anyway, it's another story. But when you hit that 10-penny nail with that slightly heavier hammer, it just sings. It goes ding, ding, ding. And the closer it gets into the wood, the higher the pitch. And it's just a beautiful sound. It's just such a simple little thing to remember. I haven't thought about that in years. But it's what it feels like when you've planted a seed and you've nurtured it along, and you have the chutzpah to change direction enough to be flexible to what really life wants to happen through you, and how and when. And you can't plan those things. You can't make a business plan to say, after 3 years, I'm going to start seeing myself for the silly person I am. And after 8 years, I'm going to notice that I have these little issues that are limiting me. And after 10 years, I'm going to be working hard on them. And after 12 years, I'm going to be totally frustrated. And after, you can't plan for those things. And at 15 years, you start feeling your freedom. But you don't know how in heaven's name to get there. So you just, try this and try that. And when you're smart, you just go deeper every day. Because just like Sue said in the peace be still, when she said peace be still, she doesn't mean that peace should be still. I don't think. I don't know what you mean when you read it, but when it was written, I don't think it meant, hey, peace, be still. No, I think it meant peace. Peace is, so be still and let it in, let it seep in and let it seep out. Let it flow. That's what I think peace be still means. Let peace be as big and as bold and as clear and as bright and as still as you can let it. And so over 20 years, I have been following the journey of this peace in me as it pushes and pulls and tugged and shoved and brought me through so many experiences. And you know what I'm talking about, because we've all had the evolution of an idea. When we're awake enough to see it, we look back on our life and we go, oh, have you ever had a moment where you hear that 10-penny nail sound? It's like ding, ding, ding. And you go, wow, this is why I did that when I was 14. This is why I left that job. This is why I stayed in this relationship. This is, and we know these things. And so the stillness of peace gives us the spaciousness to see ourselves differently. You know, the last 5 years have been pretty confusing. It's like knowing something else was coming, not knowing what it was, how, when, where, and not really knowing how to hold them both and let it evolve while maintaining what you have. Have you ever been in that spot? You know, you have a job, it's a really good job, it pays you well, has great benefits, but it no longer, you know, has that challenge or that juice or that joy, whatever it is that is valuable to you. I loved every minute of what I've been doing for 20 years, even the parts that I didn't like, even the parts that were hard, even the parts that I went, really? I got a what? You're kidding, right? Even all those parts, I wouldn't trade them in because they all got me here. So today, what I hope to accomplish in the next 20 minutes is to cast into our midst this idea that we can write recreation stories for ourselves. Recreation stories. Now, you know, if Justine were here, she'd be talking about, should be telling us, or she knows the incredible creation stories that so many native elders and wise mystics have told. There's books of them. Native people especially, and many cultures have original stories. You know, that in Finland, their original story is like the Odyssey. I mean, it's like 500 more, maybe 1,000 pages of folklore, of symbolism, of allegory. Well, we all have that too. And sometimes the stories we learned as children were stories that were not in our best interests. They're not in the interest of the vision of possibility that humanity has. There is embedded, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so, and I sure hope not, that there is within us this awareness of the possibility of this whole system working in harmony and alignment, with us included. I mean, it does. It's all working. The leaves come out right now. The trees are starting to bud. I know we only had a week of winter, but that's just what's happening right now. And, you know, and I used to say, oh, those poor trees, they must just be in chaos, you know, that like it was just snowing. We had a foot of snow 10 days ago, and now the things are budding. It's like, really? But, you know, the tree has within it the capacity to adjust to that. I don't know how, but I know that if the tree has it, I have it too. Because we're all made from the same thing. We're all here on the same purpose, to be the best tree, person, flower, dog, puppy that we can be. It's just how I see it. And so if it's true that the tree can adjust, well, then so can I. And adapt to the things that are going on around it, but not to lose sight of its treeness. We go in and out of losing sight of our humanity, of our spiritual reality. It's part of the human fog that comes in waves, like living on the coast in California, you know. And sometimes you have to drive with the door open. I live down there south of San Francisco. You have to drive with the door open to see the yellow line on the road to make sure you didn't go somewhere because you couldn't see anything. And that's just another metaphor for what it's like sometimes in our life, right? We know we need to change, but we don't know where, and the car's headed hit it ahead. It's like, oh my gosh, how do I steer it? Where does it go? Isn't the side road coming soon? And we go through those moments in our life. It's like, really? And you're grinning and laughing because you know this story. It's not just my story, it's our story. And if it's our story here, it's our story anywhere and everywhere. And the thing is, it's a story because it's been told enough. It's a story because it's been told too much for some of those stories. And there's stories that need to be told that are like the opening of the door to see the route on the path to the reality that in our heart, I know we all know. We all yearn for the same thing. Otherwise, we would not be here today. We would be, chasing a ball around a grass somewhere, or we'd be, still asleep in bed, or we'd be fussing while we were doing the dishes or vacuuming the house. But we're not. We're here because something called a principle is calling us forward to live our lives more fully and more in alignment with the way this thing really is. And so when we see all the stuff that's going on around us, it looks so real. And in fact, it is happening. And depending on the story you were told, it can feel really familiar or really foreign and scary. And there's not enough guideposts out there for this. So I've been looking back. This is Black History Month. Black History Month. It was only 100 and, let's see, this is 2021, 105 years ago that the first Black History Week, no, it was a month too, it was in 1926. In fact, that's the same time that Ernest Holmes wrote his Science of Mind textbook. So that was a banner year. There was a lot of juicy things going on then, and people were catching the vision of possibility. There was a reformation of thought. There was a transcendental movement that said you can rise above your conditions. You can create a different reality. And so in that Black History Month, which started in 1926, a man named, I have it here, Carter Woodson, who was now one person, this is 1926. That is, the Civil War was in 1865, so that's 35 and 26, so that's 35, 45, 55. 61 years before was the Civil War. Now, Abraham Lincoln started by planting a seed that was the proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation. That was a seed that's been unfolding, and the stories are being told up until today. 5 years later, after that proclamation, he was killed 5 years later. But his quotes, if you read his quotes, are the roadmap for today. Those were quotes that happened before the Civil War. Those were out of his own insight and his own wisdom. So I invite you to go as quickly as you can to his quotes, to Abraham Lincoln quotes, because they're incredible, such as, I don't like that man, so I must get to know him better. That was an Abraham Lincoln quote. Now, isn't that germane today? He said, do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? Our country seems to be as divided today as it was in those days. It seems to be. If all you're looking at is the headlines on the newspaper and on your news feed and your computer or your phone. We're not paying attention to the stories that are continuing to unfold, and we're not paying attention to the seeds of new life empowering, humanity expanding stories that are being planted right now, when we're focused on, oh no, look at it, we're just all divided, it's split our country. That story is a story that doesn't have the kind of ending that we want to be living. And the question today is, and the topic of today is, are you thinking what you want to be living? Are you telling the story you want to be known for? Are you telling the story you want your grandchildren or the little ones to say, how did that happen? How did peace break out? How did we discover how to live together? How did we decide that it's more important to be happy than to be right? How did we learn how to cooperate and share our money so that we could equally be well off, so that we could all have housing and food and health and safety? Imagine waking up and knowing that that's our destiny. Imagine waking up and having ideas of how to answer that child's question. That would transform us if we decided to tell those stories, those recreation stories. Now, I think it's interesting. This morning I was thinking about this because I got captivated this morning by a wonderful article from Parents Magazine. Now, today is my youngest granddaughter, Faith. It's her 9th birthday. And, so I always think about writing a story for my grandchildren on their birthday, a little poem or something. And so I started playing with that, and I thought about recreation. And then I fell upon this article, and it talked about how to talk to children today about hate and racism, how to do it, so that it's not just, you shouldn't say that, or those are bad people, stay away from them, or, well, don't worry, I'll protect you against all the evils. When I became a single mother, I had my favorite song at the time was a Helen Reddy anthem called You and Me Against the World. Remember that song? That's what I felt like. I felt like, I was alone and I had to protect them from everything. That's not the kind of story you want to end up in, right? Thank God I didn't. I started telling a new story. It started with, I'm enough. It was my very first affirmation. I am enough. There is enough. It will all work out. And I dropped little seeds in front of me to follow by those teachings. They were new creation stories. They were creation of a new reality. I am enough. Instead of, I don't have enough. I don't know how to do this. So where do we put our attention, right? Are we putting our attention on the problem, on the current condition? We are told to turn away from that condition and to know the greater truth. There is a golden thread of truth through all of humanity, all of civilization, all of the great creation stories, all of the history, all of the doctrines, all of the teachings. There is a golden thread of truth through all of it. And it isn't, let me get mine first and hope that, you don't bother me. It is not that. It is not, I'm better than you, or let me not share because there isn't enough. It's not, that is not humanity's story. But it does appear to be the one we're living in half the time. If you pay attention to that, if that's what is your compass, the media world, we as people who are no better than anyone else, we're no better than anyone else. We are all equally endowed with 100% pure spirit. We are here right now because we know there's another story seeking to be told through us. In the Parents Magazine, it articulated these stages of children, and it started with innocence and joy and the unadulterated, sense of safety. Those wee ones up to 6 years old. And at that age, they said, children are aware of fairness. Children they see differences, but they don't judge them. They don't know what the adults say about that. Don't play with that little girl because she's not the right color skin, or they don't live in the right part of town, or their parents are not good people, or they don't have enough. Those are not the stories those children know. The children know a new kid comes to town and she lives next door. Great, a new friend. So what are the stories we're telling ourselves? What story do you want to be known for? Where's your energy going? The story you're telling? Because if you're telling the story of this expansive, inclusive, this mysterious, this challenging, this unknown time, but knowing that within us, like in the tree, there is this ability to remember who we are and why we're planted here and what our life is about, and we can grow our branches in lots of ways. And that's a conscious choice, how we grow. We put our attention here on the division story, or here on the equal, just, respected story. Liberty and justice for all. Free from bondage. Plato told that story, the story of the cave. And everybody, was looking at the fire, the shadow of the fire, and thought it was real. And so we chain ourselves to old stories. But today, now, this period in humanity's life, because of several tragedies, the world is aware of itself in a way it never has been before. We are so connected. I could give you so many great examples of how life is showing us how connected and how powerful this time is. Just do a search for Karuna virus, Karuna, Karuna virus. If you can't find it, send me a note and I'll send it to you. Every day, this volunteer organization gathers stories of hope and possibility and the world that works for everyone. And it's not a religious thing. It's just ordinary people doing ordinary good things, working as the children know. I made a list of the things that the children know. Fairness, justice, listening, exploring, accepting. That's what kids do without question in the beginning. Until we start teaching them how to doubt and be careful and be safe. We need to follow the children's model. Instead of being the adults that know everything, the children today are born to bring us into this new reality. They're part of a seed that was planted at the beginning of time. At the beginning of time, a story of milk and honey, a story of love and harmony. And we're part of the evolution of that story. And how we live and the stories we tell are like pruning what part of the tree of life, what part of this humanity we're going to experience. And so it's up to us. Unity has this principle that says, it's our thoughts create our reality. We are responsible for our thoughts. Well, that means we have a choice in which stories to keep telling ourselves and which stories to stop telling ourselves. This is a moment in history unlike And I know that it's been said at Copernicus's time and at Martin Luther's time and all of the epic moments when civilization did a leap. This is one of those big leaps. And I want to be on that leap of faith, which is the best means of transportation. I want to be on that leap that says, it's okay. You can leave what you've been doing. You can follow your heart. You can let go with love. You don't have to suffer. You can just wish them well, even if it's not what you wanted or how you thought it would be. It's going to be how they thought it should be. And so it's their time. Yesterday, my granddaughter and I were talking on FaceTime, and the family's in the kitchen, and she's showing me something. And she said, Baba, you're going to think that we're crazy. I want to tell you something. You're going to think we're crazy, but we're getting a new puppy. And I was like speechless. She knew exactly why I would think that they were crazy. They have, 2 dogs and 2 guinea pigs and 2 parakeets and a parrot and 2 fish tanks and a bearded dragon and 13 chickens. And now they're going to get an 8-week-old puppy and they're already too busy. Yeah, I think that's pretty crazy. And I tried so hard not to tell that story. I tried to just say I'm speechless. Yes. Wow. A new puppy. Wow. I really tried not to go there with my judgment. I mean, I have a 3-year-old dog. I went through the new puppy not very long ago, up all night long, cleaning their brand new carpet they just got installed. I just thought about all those things and I tried to keep my mouth shut. I didn't really succeed because, I still have that part of me that wants to be right. But the truth is, life came along and said, really, is that the story you want to be known for? The one that reminds people of their limitations and how they should make a better decision? That's not the story I want to be known for. And right when I was just thinking that I want to not be known for that, I had a call from my prayer partner. And I told her about my experience with the puppy story and that I wished I had done it differently. And she said, let me tell you my puppy story. And she told me about how her son, who's really a golden retriever, she's a golden retriever kind of girl. He's a kind of bull mastiff kind of guy, but his wife is a pug kind of woman. And she wanted this little pug. And her husband went, what? A pug? No way. And she said, and I went, no, they're not so pretty. A golden retriever. And the wife wanted a pug. And guess what? The husband got the pug for the wife. And just last week, when my prayer partner, who's 87, recovering from COVID, was staying with this particular daughter, they have this new puppy. And guess where she found herself? On the floor with the puppy, happy, rolling around because this puppy is so playful and is so full of joy. And she said, I had the same idea as you did. I didn't keep my mouth shut either, and I regretted it just like you do. But guess what I was doing last week? And I can tell a different story now. I said, thank you. And I wrote my children, and I told a different story. I said, you know what? I get it. It's really about the need for more joy in our life. There's so much challenge right now. We need joy. And what's more joyful than a puppy? They don't have any bad habits. Please don't give them. No, don't talk about that. Bad habits. Let them find their own way. Just enjoy the joy. And so we always have a choice to see ourselves and to tell a story that we want to be known for, because it's creating the world of infinite possibility. And as it does that, it creates the world for justice and mercy and equality and equal rights. Because those things come out of our compassion itself, that when we love and accept ourselves, we're able to love and accept others. That when we no longer feel afraid to say how we feel, we're more able to, as Abe Lincoln said, I need to get to know that person. We're more able to be willing to know why that angry person is so angry without being afraid that it's our fault. And then we can actually take responsibility for our part in nurturing that story, as unknown as it was to us that we were doing that. And then we can just start telling a different story. We can, the word recreation is kind of interesting. It really is recreation, right? But it's recreation. And I thought, wow, maybe that's why we're all supposed to have more fun, because when we're having more fun and we're doing more recreation, we're able to see a different story. And that's self-care. So the whole thing is an orchestration that is beyond our wildest ability to see. And yet it changes with every choice we make. It's so elegant. It makes me weep. It's so elegant in how it works. It's perfect, whole, and complete all the time. It's astounding to me. I just love it. And so I surrender to it, because it's obviously much greater than reminding people how hard it's going to be to have a puppy in their life. Why not go for joy? So in this world and in this day when there's so much that seems to be at odds, let's remember that underneath all of it, we're all really the same. We're all seeking to know ourselves as the magnificent tree that we are, the magnificent being that we are, the magnificent possibility. If that magnificence, it doesn't have to be famous. It just, I think Mother Teresa says, we're not all born to do really great things, but we all can do things in a great way. Let's do this one. Let's do this in a great way. Let's tell ourselves the stories that will be our legacy in this world that works for everyone. Let's do it together. Otherwise, why would we be here if it weren't to learn how to do this? So there's so much I would love more to share, but I think that it's time we make up with all the barriers that we've set between ourselves and each other, and to know that when we make friends with people, we destroy the enemy. And we can start with ourselves. We can make friends with that part of us that keeps us up until now less than who we really know ourselves or want ourselves to be. Let's do that. I think that's the call from the infinite world that knows that it's already done. When are they going to all wake up? Come on. Let's just wake up, for goodness sakes, together. It'll be so much fun. Talk about dancing in the street. A whole new world. And yes, our organization is called Golden Path of Peace, because that's what wants to happen. It's a golden idea. It's a golden moment. It's a golden choice to be ourselves. Thank you. Peace. Be still. Be still. Be still. Peace. Peace. Peace is, I am. Peace is, I choose peace. Peace. For me, it works like a key that unlocks the door to the golden path of life, of living. Gives me the courage and the capacity to allow life to be as it is without my commentary. Peace. As I choose it more and more, I deepen my capacity to just let life be as it is and let people be as they are. And to forgive myself for still forgetting and still trying to save them, to protect them, to change them. Peace. Peace. The stillness that I choose makes me hungry to listen to the stories of others who are suffering, angry, disconnected. And then I remember to pay attention to the part of me that is struggling or suffering or disconnected. Putting peace first is the best choice I know. And I give thanks to this infinite life that has been knocking on my door with this story for so long, to just surrender to it and give myself to that which is really mine, to tell these stories, these peace stories. And to invite others to tell themselves their own peace stories that sets them free from the bondage that they've accepted, not on purpose usually, but it's never too late to change and write a new story, a peace story, a recreation from war to peace. I believe in it. I believe in us. I believe in the future that's calling us. I believe we're all here on purpose. I believe each of us sets ripples that moves across the whole sphere that this beautiful little pale blue dot that we live on. We are here together with 7 billion other people. And while we aren't all friends and we don't all understand each other, we are all one. And telling that story builds the bridges that unites us all. I know this is so. I give thanks. I let it be. Oh man. And so we are filled up today with the threads that are meaningful to us, whatever part touched our heart, the prayers, the songs, the seeing each other, the knowing that we're community, the message, the the guidance, the sweetness that is here in this space. Whatever part of this is a golden thread for you, it's yours. Use it. It's yours. Make something beautiful with it. Let it make you smile. Let us leave today richer than we came. Let us choose today, as the word was for today, peace. Let us choose peace. Today, tomorrow, and whenever there's a wrinkle in the force, let's choose peace and allow that new story to emerge that we're learning to tell ourselves and learning to live and learning to accept, learning to receive. And that gives us the courage to let go of the old stories that we learned to protect ourselves, learned to feel good about ourselves, learned to hold on to in the storm, but they no longer serve. We can let them go. And we can lean into the light. So that is our off-ramp from this wonderful service to the rest of this day and the rest of this week. Off we go. Thank you.